I was really inspired by this friend of mine. She has an art account of her own, and she had been using it to raise awareness for women who were suffering from domestic abuse. And so she sold her art, and like 10 or 15% of the earnings went to organizations that supported women like that. So she donated to organizations like Awam, if you guys know it. It's basically for women that are suffering from domestic abuse. So she collected all these data, raised awareness, donated her earnings. And I was just like, that is so inspiring. And I wanted to do the same for what I cared about, which was for children and also for women who were suffering from the pandemic, because the rates rose so much more. Suicidal calls came. Yeah, the rates for those calls were rising. So when I saw those numbers, I just thought, okay, I'm not doing anything, and I feel like if I can, I should. And then at the same time, I stumbled onto polymer clay on Twitter, out of all places. Someone paid 500 ringgit for an art piece that I did. It's on my page. It's the first ever art piece that was asked of me to do. Like I customized an actual painting, clay painting. And I remember charging it at like 120 ringgit. But even then, it was like, oh my gosh, this is like the best work I've ever done at that point. And I was like, I'm actually getting so much more than I usually charge. And I'm like, I already felt bad at first. I was like, oh, I'm not sure how to charge this because I have no experience. And even then, the money doesn't really matter so much to me at that point. And all I was thinking about was like, wow, I'm so happy with this piece. And like, it's amazing. I can't believe I did this. And then like when the guy asked me for the account number, I gave it to him. And then the next thing I know is I see this notification that's at 500 ringgit. And I thought like I thought that I missaw like a zero or something. And I immediately texted the guy and I was like, did you accidentally, I can give it back to you if you want. And then he was like, oh, no, completely fine. It's exactly what I thought that you deserve and everything. And I was just in awe. And the guy took it to be professionally framed. And it literally has my name on it in like a silver plate and stuff. And I immediately felt like, oh my gosh, this does not deserve that kind of like honor. Recently, especially, even though I think like the prices are really affordable, I would say so myself, for the amount of work that goes into it and the upgraded clay and stuff, it's pretty much next to nothing, especially when I donate like 15% of it, 10% right now to Dignity. There was this one piece that I charged, like it was a ring dish. So I made it based on her requested design, right? And she said that she would order it. Now, this is the thing. I don't usually accept deposits or upfront payment just because I trust my customer. Usually, no one has ever cheated me, ever. Like, it's just an experience I have to go through. So she ordered it from me. I made it. I sent a picture to her, and then she was like, "Oh, I haven't paid yet. Sorry." And she didn't want it. And the sad part was she already negotiated for a lower price, and me being like, oh, okay, I'll like drop the price down to like 5 ringgit or something. And then I did, and then she was like, never mind, bye. So I was like, now what do I do with this ring dish? But it's okay. I still took pictures of it and sent it out, and it's always never a loss for me because like people still see your work. They still see that you make good customizations. If you do good work, it's recognized. It's always an investment. I didn't hold it against her either. It's okay. Sometimes people change their minds, but it just taught me a lot, like to protect myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
But what if
quite
she comes back to you and like
So, can I buy it from you again?
Oh well, of course I'd sell it to her because it's still with me. So I'd be really grateful if she comes back and says like she still wants it, but she hasn't yet. So
Okay.
my dad used to be a singer as well, so I assume it runs in the blood. My dad was much bigger than I am right now. He started singing when he was 15, and then started kind of touring at 19. So he sang to the Chinese market. Probably wouldn't know him unless you were very old or exclusively listen to Chinese songs. So he used to tour Taiwan, China, and Hong Kong for a while. I think Singapore as well. Yeah, so but that was a long time ago, and I doubt that people know him anymore. It must be like super fan if you still do. It's crazy. But yeah, he used to do that as a really young teenager. I don't know how, but he did. Because of that, I guess I grew up always being aware of music and songs and stuff. I never learned music per se. I didn't go to like I didn't take piano lessons or anything like that. I didn't take any vocal lessons either. I don't think my dad really taught me either. He would just like sing and then I would just like kind of join in as a child. The first moment I realized like I really like singing was when I was in the car with him and then he was playing this CD. Wow, that was a long time ago playing CDs. And it was just like, girl, I still try to find her, but I can't really remember her name. I have to ask my dad. Her name was Joey, I think, but she sang in English and Mandarin. And I remember thinking her voice is so good. And then in the car itself, my dad taught me how to do harmonies, how to harmonize with other vocals. And I was so young at that age. I didn't know what he was saying. Okay, he spoke to me in Mandarin. He said, 这个是叫合音. And then at that time, 那个合音我以为是 I thought it was a river sound. All right. So what's Why is it so random? And then yeah, so I was really confused at that time, but I still took it anyway, and I started learning from there by myself, just kind of like listen to a lot of Christina Perri at that age. Yeah, learning from there, and Taylor Swift, obviously, because of our generation. So yeah, and a lot of the Beatles as well because of my mom. That's how it started, I guess. I think, well, my go-to motto is basically just do all things with love. If you love what you do, you will, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. But one more thing that I recently realized for myself is like there are definitely moments where like you're just thinking to yourself, did I overbook myself? Did I not manage this properly? And did I think like I can handle this much? Did I bet on myself too much? And because there are definitely moments where like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm burning out. There's so much going on at the same time, you know, because I tutor, I also do my degree. It's a double major, so it's like, oh my gosh, I have to think about these things. And then I'm also on scholarship because I just cannot afford Monash's full fees. It's crazy. So it's really expensive. No offense, great education, but so expensive. So I have to keep my grades up for that scholarship and PTPTN, and then I have to tutor at the side as well, and then my clay stuff at one hand, and then also singing in church, serving at church, which takes up a lot of my time as well. How do I stay motivated through all this mess? Is by keeping it all in order. Like just make sure that there's like enough time for myself to rest. I need to prioritize as much as I prioritize everything that I do. So it gets an equal share of my time. I will not do what I do if I don't get enough rest. It's a defiance kind of thing. Like I cannot work if I don't rest enough. So planning is a really big thing that helps me a lot. If you do it all for yourself, you're never going to be happy and you're never going to be motivated. That's what I find for myself. If I'm doing it purely for my enjoyment, even though that is important in itself, if I do it for someone else that I love, it's automatically motivating because that is the way it is. When you love someone, you make sacrifices. You give them time, you give them your effort and everything. So I go back to that when I question what I do. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I going through all of this like busyness in life and making myself do so much? I go back to this like, okay, it's because I care, and it's because it's not for myself. I am basically accountable to someone else, and you make a difference in someone else's life. So when that is on the line, you automatically will do it. At least that's my personal experience.
There's been times when I thought about giving up, but I never did.